are you learning about intergenerational leadership in the new landscape since last night until today? How much are you learning? Come on, show it. Okay, can I see? Okay, second question. How well are you already leading in the new landscape with intergenerational leadership based on what we have heard today from our 4 speakers? How well? Can we see your hands? How well? It can be long or short. Can I see? Oh, how well are you already leading? Okay, and third question. How much is your faith that we will see God at work in the new landscape? Amen. And let's give a hand to the Lord. Amen. As we call on the last set of speakers, Bishop F. Tendero and Vania Christian, our leader of Unleashed Foundation and the Global Ambassador of WEA. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Manchit, for leading us. And since we have a very limited time, raising leaders for and in the new landscape. I have the advantage that I was participant and one of the presenter also at the last ELS. And in this ELS, 200 leaders from 25 countries gathered together. And what I will share with you in the first part are some of the outputs of these leaders and part of the interactions I have with them. Then they said, well, a leader in this new landscape is one who is what? Somebody who is in the context of being multi-religious, multi-ethnic, multi-lifestyle, globalized community, in a globalized community whose interaction is greatly magnified by social media. That's a new landscape for a leader. And because of that, they have given the proper values of a leader, and they have identified 5. The proper values would be whole life discipleship, integral mission, kingdom mindset, critical reflection, interconnectedness, and technology savvy. That's why younger leaders now do not exchange calling cards. They just say, QR code, please. So, and then challenges for developing and younger leaders. They said, the problem that we see is there is inappropriate training program for us as younger leaders. There's an inadequate ministry environment for us, as well as the lack of immersion for experiences. These are younger leaders, emerging leaders, who are talking from their hearts, from their experiences. Then we talk about strategies to engage the current as well as the next generation. From the heart of the younger leaders, they said, we want to have empowerment and integral development. We want people who will model transparency, honesty, and vulnerability. We want conversational connection rather than teacher-pupil instruction. We want to have that dialogue where they solicit their input as well as participation. These are some of what the younger leaders are saying. We also discuss about the problems of stereotyping younger leaders. Some of the issues that they have said is that they are comparing us with other or previous generations. They're also complaining about how they see the world. They are being suspect for their being more inquisitive or being more open-minded and having broader perspective. And this is a reminder for us, senior leaders. Sometimes there is the confidence-starved older leaders preventing the younger leaders to flourish. We want to have our own significance and we hinder others. So, after, as I said, you can have a copy of that later on. But allow me also to share with you some of my reflections on some of the principles in raising leaders from biblical examples. I have chosen at least 4 because of the kind of mentoring relationship that I have. First is Moses and Joshua. We see the issue here is team leadership as well as succession planning. Moses saw Joshua's potential as a young man. And he gave him on-the-job training. and was strengthened with major tasks. He was the assistant of Moses. And in Exodus 17, in the battle against the Amalek, she says, Joshua, take charge. I will pray for you. The senior leaders will be behind you. And he was with Moses when the second time he went to receive the Ten Commandments. And Moses did not hang on to his position when God said in Numbers 27, Moses commissioned Joshua. And you saw that picture of how Joshua was commissioned. Moses could have said, I want to be part of entering the promised land. But Joshua, you will do it. Then we have Mordecai and Esther. It's a principle of having genuine love and care. Esther is the cousin of Mordecai, who was an orphan, but he treated and cared for her as her own daughter and sought her best interests in order to say, yes, you can be one of those candidates to be a queen. And when she was already in that interview situation, provided timely coaching, guidance, and direction, even when she was already queen. And reminded her at a very critical moment that God has raised you up for such a time as this. The genuine love and care is another principle. Then we have Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel and his friends. The principle that I want to see here is the standard for excellence. Nebuchadnezzar, as the ruler of the empire during the time, wanted to have younger leaders, the best and the brightest. Gathered them in Babylon. And then he said he provided them all the king's resources, all the king's food. Then later on, when they were already trained, tested for their competence. Who was the one who can give an interpretation for my dream? And notice the practice, the standard for excellence. It's not nepotism. It's not somebody who is nationalism. It's meritocracy. Whoever has the best and whoever performs well, who is able to show that he is able and he's competent, that's standard for excellence. And finally, I have Timothy and Paul. The intentionality and progressive relations. Shared the gospel in Lystra when Timothy was 16. And then in the second missionary journey, recruited him when he was 21 to be a part of the member. But in between the time, there was that continuous communication and mentoring between them. And when he was tasked to be the pastor of the church in Ephesus, he wrote the first epistle of to Timothy as the pastor in Ephesus. And before he ended his life, wrote the second Timothy because he says, Timothy, I need you. Come to me quickly. Come before winter because I need you. I need your companionship. So we see here Timothy and Paul having that relationship. In my ministry, God gave me 4 ministry assignments. Why? Because why do I show this? Because I want to see how that kind of environment for team leadership as well as those principles of providing training as well as mentoring for younger leaders was my experience. I was age 21 when I was a pastor. Many of my leaders are old enough to be my parents, but they cared for me and they were there and they supported me. At age 36, I was elected to the national leadership of the Philippine Council of Evangelical Churches, and I want to thank Dr. Jun Benser for mentoring me during that time. Then at age 58, I was the head of the World Evangelical Alliance. But other leaders helped me, and there are other people who were there. At age 64, after I turned over the leadership of the World Evangelical Alliance, the first action that was given by my successor, Dr. Thomas Schumacher, is to appoint me as Global Ambassador. That is what Jun Benser was telling a while ago. Let us provide also avenues where the gifts and abilities of those who are retiring are able to have something more. But in all of these 4 stages in my life, I have a community of people who are able to help. And in turn, I'm able to help others as well. Last year, I turned 65 years old. Normally, at 65, you should be just retiring. But Dr. Thomas Schumacher last year said, no, we're not done with you, and appointed me to lead the Galilean movement. Because this is the plan how we can raise disciple-making leaders. We want to reach the whole world for Jesus. We want to raise up disciple-making leaders because only 11% of the world's 8 billion are committed followers of Christ. The harvest is great, Jesus said, but the laborers are few. We need to have more laborers. Where are they? We need to equip them. Jesus actually defined what is the harvest when he said in Matthew 28, make disciples of all nations. So the laborers that we want to raise are disciple makers who will produce disciples. We follow Jesus, the Galilean. So we launched the Galilean movement. It's still in the foundational stage, laying foundation. And we want you to pray and see that this could be one that God will use, and I want you to be part of this movement, a global catalyst to accelerate the raising of Christ-like harvest workers everywhere. Harvest workers in different generations, in different geographical locations, in different sectors of society. Everywhere we want to see disciple-making harvest workers who are Christ-like. Amen? How do we find a harvest worker? A harvest worker is one who equips, empowers, and guides other disciple makers in Christian ministry. The ministry is not just for professional people, not the clergy only. We need to equip and empower every believer to be part of the ministry. The mission of the Galilean movement is to urgently multiply effective disciple-making leaders for fruitful harvests. And they are everywhere. We want to equip and provide them with all of the other learnings and principles that we have learned earlier. The Galilean movement seeks to establish a network of equipping providers, or a network of equipping providers for disciple-making leaders. We want to seek collaboration of everyone that are equipping disciple-making leaders. We want to enlist churches and institutions to raise disciple-making, to make disciple-making leaders, and develop support systems and programs to raise disciple-making leaders. Brothers and sisters, the harvest is great. Laborers are needed. And all of us have a role to play in raising those laborers for the harvest. God bless you.
Please give a round of applause to Bishop Ephraim for this. I admire him so much. He is so humble. He is a leader of heart. I've known him since 2019. I admire him a lot. And, well, we have one session just talking about raising young leaders, and we have heard about like 30 steps on how to do, on how to raise young leaders. So I don't think I need to share anything more. Okay? How many of you are hungry? Oh yes, I see hands hungry. Okay. I only need 5 minutes, and I will only share 3 things that's in my heart. Okay? We have, okay, just this session itself already shows how AEA is really focused on raising young leaders. We want to see more young leaders rising up in Asia. In this new landscape, raising young people becomes inevitable. Just a few days ago, I found an article from Harvard Business Review said that the business landscape today is so foreign from that of 2 decades ago that figuring out how to deploy lessons and skills from the past needs to be reimagined and rethought. And I'm grateful that AEA is doing it today. We are prepared because we are in the new landscape. It doesn't mean that we need to change the whole leadership with the young people. It doesn't mean that when the senior leaders are retired, then it will come the time for the young people. But we really want, as all the other speakers have mentioned before, we really want to see intergenerational leadership. We want to see that senior leaders and the young leaders share leadership together. And the article continued by saying that bringing less experienced people like us, the young people, with the age diversity into leadership roles can help unlock the requisite creativity and flexibility. Its diverse leadership teams create cognitive tension that fosters learning. So raising young people is very important in the new landscape. Young leaders are not the leaders of tomorrow, but the leaders of today. They need to be included today. Every day we are in the battle of losing the next generation or raising the next generation of leaders. And to be able to raise young leaders, we, the church, has to be in the center of it. Amen? Okay, because if not us, who will? If not the church who raised the young leaders, who will? I believe there are at least 3 conditions on how young leaders can be raised up. Despite all of the 30, 40 points that have been mentioned before, I think this is the 3 things that are really close to my heart. First, they need to be in a community. Younger leader needs a sense of community. Vivi said before, they need to feel that they belong. Not only belong to a community, but also a community that's bigger than themselves. They need peers. They need mentors. They need other younger leaders as well. In the sense of community, they will learn so much more. They cannot be separated from other people. The pandemic really hit them so bad. So many young leaders say that they experience mental health issues because they are separated from the community. In the context of my ministry, when we encourage them to do something, the question that they always say is, will you walk together with us? Inside the hearts of the younger leaders, we only want to walk together with you. It's much better for us if you correct us, reprimand us, than being neglected. We just want to walk together with you, learn from you, and lead together in this new landscape. If we don't walk together with them, who will? If it is not the church, the world will. The world will. Second, in action. Toddlers, 0 to 5 years old, they will learn best by imitating adults. Okay? They learn how to speak, they learn how to walk by imitating the parents. And they will always do whatever you do. Children aged 6 to 10 years old will learn best by listening to adults. They will do whatever you told them to. That's the best time, right? When your children always listens to you, okay? But then comes to the teenager. They don't do by imitating you anymore. They don't learn by listening to you anymore. Sometimes they don't want to listen to you, and I experienced that. But the best way for them to learn is by doing, through experience. So when Bishop F said that we want to raise disciple maker leaders, we don't need a lot of training first before we can become disciple maker leaders. If we want to raise younger leaders, we have to make them lead now. They just need the experience to lead since they are young. They don't have to, if you want to be disciple maker, then you have to attend these trainings first for, I don't know how many books they have to finish, then you can become a disciple maker. No. If they learn through experience, then they just need the experience to lead and to be a disciple maker now. I know it is a huge investment because it will mean 2 things. 1, trust. The currency of leadership is trust. If we never invest trust in the lives of the young leaders, we are not building leaders. If we never trust them. Second is second chance. We will always need to give them the second chance. Surely they will make mistakes. But who in this room has never made mistakes in their life? They need this experience to fail, to succeed under the leadership of the senior leaders. If the church doesn't give them the experience on how to be disciple maker leaders, who will? If the church doesn't trust them to become leaders, who will? The world will. Third, this is my last one, so if you're hungry, you can say hooray now. Hooray! Okay, the third one is the kingdom vision. Joel 2 verse 28 said, your young men will see visions. Teenagers and young people are the most idealistic generations. The recent study of Barna showed that the young generation of today are more concerned than ever about social justice. Because of the tremendous social media impact to our life, we know more and we care more about this world. And fighting about persecution, fighting for climate change, fighting for this diversity. And they have so much heart that they want to contribute something, they want to do something for the world. When I asked one church leader, one young leader in a particular church, I asked, the research showed this one, what should you do? And then they said, oh, okay, I will let them experience serving in the church so that they have the servant heart to minister the word. And I was confused, to be honest. Well, the problem is out there. The teenagers, the young people already has the heart for the world. Why do you still want them to serve in the church only? If they have the heart for the kingdom vision, then we will need to encourage them also to go out there to the world. And I also met a youth leader in a particular church where there were around 30 people in the teenager service. I asked her, how do you lead your service? Like, what do you do? And she said that her main role is to manage the schedule of the ministers who play the band, who give the sermon, and what is the rundown of the event today. And I asked her again, what's the vision of your youth service and how do you deliver it? She was rambling. She couldn't answer it properly. And sadly, this case is not unique to this church. I happen to know many churches out there, young church with the youth service, they could not even define their vision for the young people. If the young generations today have this desire to embrace the kingdom visions from God, but the youth service has become a routine event, what will happen next? I once encountered a quiet girl who was born in a Christian family. Going to church with her parents, the church has tried to create a small group community after the Sunday service. It's good. I can see that she only joins the church and the small group because of the routines, because the parents told her so. One day, to my surprise, I was scrolling into my Instagram, and then I saw her account popping out in my feed. And I saw her defending the LGBTQ people in her social media boldly. I was shocked. I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. But it also sounds an alarm to my heart that if the church doesn't give them the kingdom vision, the world will. The world knows young people need to see vision. The world knows young people need to embrace the kingdom vision from God. They are thirsty, they are hungry. I want to see visions in my life. But if the church cannot give them the vision, what will happen? The world will. And we cannot continue this anymore. We cannot continue doing the same thing again and again without giving them the visions. I know it's hard. You might say, I'm sorry, I don't like young people. They are too loud. They are too wild. They are too stubborn. They don't want to listen to me. Just let the youth pastors lead them. Yes, they are loud. Yes, they are wild. Yes, they are stubborn. But when they catch and embrace the kingdom vision from God, they will also be loud about it. They will also be wild about it. And they will also be unstoppable about it. And it is our duty as the church to raise them as leaders today. Because if it is not the church, who will? And I hope as we finish sharing all the hearts of the senior leaders and the younger leaders today, I hope and pray all of you, today we will say, I will raise the young leaders. Thank you so much.